I work on the marketing team, so I do a lot of the social media, video, a lot of the stuff that you get to watch on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook that's what my team does. How long have I been involved in the automotive lifestyle? That's a good question. So when I was 3, I think it was 2 or 3, my mom told me that some of my first words, or whatever it is that you're supposed to start talking, were car related. They were like the names of trucks, the names of cars, and like I didn't even learn a lot of like the first words that kids traditionally learn, and that's probably still the case. But some of my first words were to do with cars. So I would say since I was a toddler. Few of my favorite vehicles. So my first motorcycle was a CBR 929RR. Had no business owning it whatsoever. Had never ridden a motorcycle, but that's a different story for a different day. Managed to survive, didn't kill myself or anyone else, and didn't even wreck the bike, which was cool. Obviously, I love my 2006 Ram, which is something I'll probably talk about later. And then one of my other most memorable vehicles, I had a 2002 WS6 Trans Am, red T-top car, black leather, 6-speed, full bolt-ons, nothing crazy, but that was like my first muscle car, and I really, really loved it. Couldn't afford it. If anyone knows F-bodies, not the best quality GM ever did, but they're fun. So I would say probably those 3 for sure. One of my least favorite vehicles I've owned, I had a 2007 Saturn Vue Hybrid.
Why?
And I think it was one of the first hybrids that GM ever did. So you can imagine how well it was put together. And the reason I hated that vehicle so much, besides the fact that it was a boring box of soap of a vehicle, it was terrible, was it was almost dangerous in that the gasoline engine that they put in that thing was not meant to power the vehicle. So it couldn't actually get the vehicle up to speed, right? Whether it was a freeway, an on-ramp, like a city street, like you couldn't merge in that vehicle. And the hybrid system that was meant to like boost it was like an on-off switch. So it would like turn on sometimes and then not. So you'd be getting on the highway and like punch it and traffic would be coming at 70 miles an hour and it just wouldn't accelerate. What do I love about my Ram? Probably the biggest thing is my introduction to diesel trucks was my grandpa Gene's 1996 12-valve Ram 3500 dually. It was an automatic truck. He towed his camper all over the country, and he let me drive it a bunch back when he still had it, back before he passed. His was white too, so I know this is it's a 3rd gen. It's a manual truck, but to have a white 5.9 truck, and I actually named it after my grandpa, is probably the thing that's most special to me. Is it kind of reminds me of where I got my start. What do I hate about my Ram? Probably all the same things that every 3rd gen owner or 2nd gen or 1st gen owner hates about their truck. The obvious one is the rust. Everyone talks about the rust on these trucks. I just spent my life savings getting this restored by a friend's body shop. So this is a rust-free 06 truck, but I would say if I hate anything about it, it's just some of the quality materials that Chrysler Dodge had back in 2006. What is the dumbest thing I've ever done in a vehicle? Well, the statute of limitations is up on it, so I'm probably free to talk about it. But I lived in a very small town when I grew up, population of 87 people, and the closest town to us had a Walmart and like a McDonald's. That was like the city for us. You know, that was the only place we could go to do anything, and it was 15-ish miles away. But the only way to get there was a 2-lane road with a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. And for whatever reason, at 16 years old, me and my 4 closest buddies decided to hold like an ongoing cannonball style ET between our town and this other town like 15 miles away.
If you gonna be a bear, be a grizzly.
And in trucks like this, like big trucks, for no reason, because nobody cared, nobody knows about it to this day other than this video, we used to try to set faster and faster lap times in our trucks going from our town to the next at what had to be felony speeds. And there was no reason for it, nobody cared. Nobody should be driving like that, much less a 16-year-old kid who just got his license. So fortunately, nobody ever got hurt, but that was easily the dumbest thing I've ever done in a vehicle. What is my favorite automotive related story? This is another one where the statute of limitations is fortunately up, so that's good. But when I was 17 years old, 2 of my closest friends, Joe and Eric, Eric rented or was given a rental car because his Cruze or his whatever he had at the time went into the shop for repair. So even though you're not really allowed to rent cars at 17 years old, they had to give him one, and he proved the model of why you don't get rental cars at 17. So myself, Eric, and my buddy Joe, we took this poor Hyundai Sonata. It was a 2007 Sonata. We took it through mud, burnouts, J-turns, e-brake turns, neutral drops, reverse bombs. We did mechanically everything we could think of with we weren't fully developed yet, so there was no regard for what could happen, what could go wrong, how much money we could spend if we broke this thing. We just went full bore for I think 4 days. And at one point we had that car so far in the air that I probably could have stood under it. Oh! And when it landed, sparks came out, and we were for sure that the oil pan was like up near the radio and like the car was done. But that little Hyundai Sonata kept going, and when we returned it, we washed all the mud off the outside. It was toast underneath, all the tires were bald, but you couldn't tell that we had abused the car. And those 4 days are easily like the best automotive experience of my life, because that was before we understood consequences, and it was amazing.
Gas or diesel?
Gas.
Ford, Chevy, or Dodge?
Dodge.
Lifted or lowered?
Lifted.
Street or dirt?
Street.
Favorite pizza topping?
Sausage.
Family Guy or South Park?
Family Guy.
iPhone or Android?
Android.
Red Bull or Monster?
Monster.